Ladies and gentlemen, what is up and welcome back to the channel. So today we have had Act 5 launch and I wanted to do a video giving my early thoughts on both the launch and also Act 5 itself in terms of design. Is it good? Are a lot of the fights fun? Are the nodes like, are they BS? Are they like pretty manageable? So let's start off with the drama, guys, and the stuff that happened today and the bugs. So when Act 5 launched, there seemed to be like this weird bug, and if you haven't killed Maestro since the update, you needed to unlock Act 5, go back into Chapter 4 and kill Maestro. So if you still haven't got Act 5 unlocked despite having Act 4 100% or already beaten Maestro before, I think that's the way to do it. It's not working for everybody, but for about 90% of people on the stream and also on Reddit it seems to be working. So if it's still locked for you, go and beat Maestro and then you should be able to unlock it. So that's one of the issues. That's the first issue. The second one, which I haven't experienced, but I've seen it all over Reddit, all over the forums, all over Facebook, is this freezing bug, where characters, you just freeze, and then you time out of a fight. So it seems really odd. I haven't had that myself, but that can be, I imagine, very frustrating. And the final one on Chapter 1, 4.6, sorry, 5.6, or 5.1.6, basically the final chapter, Dark Angel, is currently bugged. So the way that the global node should work in there at the moment is brute force. Basically it punishes you with a degeneration if you don't get hit if you don't get a hit in 6 seconds. So if you have 6 seconds where you can't connect with the opponent, you will start to degen a really significant amount. However, there is no 6-second timer. Like, the degen is active all the time from your first hit, and there's no way to reset it or get rid of it. So you can still get through this chapter, but on the stream when we got to it, I was kind of faced with this decision. All the paths in here are like, they're pretty long paths, about like 10-15 fights each. And I was like, do I want to go through this and spend like a lot of units on stream, or do I just want to wait till it's fixed? And I decided, you know, I'm just going to wait till it's fixed, because like muscling my way through everything with units just isn't very fun. So you can still get through this chapter with units, but it's just heavily bugged at the moment, and I would encourage just leaving it be until it gets fixed. Apparently it's a similar issue with what Karnak is having at the moment as well, where he just keeps on refreshing his focus state. Apparently, like, the buff is in the similar category and it's going to get fixed. Well, there's no time frame, but hopefully like in the next few days they'll manage to resolve that issue there. So yeah, all of it is working quite well. However, I must say, all of the Act 5 is working extremely well, apart from the final chapter. I'm really liking the design a lot so far. Every chapter has 4 paths to clear, except the final one, which has 5 paths. So right off the bat, this is very good. I was really worried that they were going to go down the kind of Act 4 route and have like every chapter have like 6 to 8 paths, or maybe even more if they were rating it to Act 5. But a lot of the previous chapters are really fun, especially with the new global nodes. And we'll go into those chapters and talk about them and give you guys some tips on how to deal with them, because we've already cleared the first chapter only using 3-star champions, and if you haven't already checked out the previous video, it's a pretty good one, guys. We played pretty damn well there, and none of our characters died in that flare map as 3 stars, so I think we did relatively well there. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff going through. I see this whole chapter, when it's fully working as intended, to be completed. You could definitely do the initial exploration if you have the right team of 3-star characters. If you have, you know, anything above that, it's just going to be quite a bit easier for yourself. So yeah, the first chapter, I think in terms of difficulty in the spectrum of the game, it's a bit easier than the Road to the Labyrinth. I'd say actually maybe quite a bit easier than the Road to the Labyrinth Chapter 4. So yeah, that's kind of where it's sitting in the spectrum. I kind of predicted that it will be a little bit beyond that. I thought that it was going to be kind of a bridge between, you know, Road to the Labyrinth and Labyrinth of Legends. However, I think we're going to see kind of some of the more difficult stuff. Again, this is only one of 4 chapters that is going to come out over the rest of the year. I think the next chapter is going to rival Road to the Labyrinth, Chapter 4, and then 3 and 4 are just going to kind of accelerate on that difficulty. So I think it's a really good introduction to Act 5. But anyway, let's talk about the chapters and what they do. Let's give you guys a quick overview and some quick initial first aid tips of how to deal with various stuff. So the first chapter, this is the easiest path that I went for down here with the guillotine, the gambit. And then you got Dr. Voodoo, Captain America. Then you go down here, you got Scarlet Witch, Civil Warrior, X-23, Venompool, Howard, Nightcrawler. And then you have Falcon and Kang. So the global node in this one is Flare. So this gives you plus 300% attack, but will degenerate 100% of your max health over 60 seconds. So with a lot of the nodes in Act 5, this is the degeneration is actually reduced. The penalty on you is reduced if you have the class advantage, but is like doubly punished if you have the disadvantage. So you want to make sure that you have like champions that have good class matchups, but generally like 2 characters I found that were just absolute MVP in this chapter, or 3 characters really. Hulk was amazing, Hood was so good, and Rogue was also a really great champion. So I think for the Flare node, those are some of my favorite characters to use because they scale so well, especially Rogue's regeneration on the special one, Hood's kind of nullify heal, and also just Hulk's damage, man. His damage is absolutely awesome. So yeah, bit of a pro tip there, but if you do have any like additional tips or characters that I miss out from any of the chapters, feel free to let me know in the comments below. So next up we have the second chapter, which actually features a global node of what I thought was going to be a boss node. So this is the armor break one. So basically the champion, your opponent will start with plus 5,000 armor rating, and for every hit that you do, it's going to apply a minus 200 armor rating reduction. So basically you need to get 25 hits in, 25 stacks of the armor break to kind of break even, and then your damage just accelerates and accelerates. So it's a bit of a slow start to the fight, but you can quickly finish it once your armor break just keeps on going through the roof there. So I think in this chapter you just really need like any good regeneration champions, any champions that can survive for a very long time and just keep on going and going and going. So something like a Wolverine would be great, Rogue, like maybe even a Captain America if you're playing really well. Just champions that can minimize damage and recover it quickly, I think are kind of your best bet for fully exploring this chapter. And then next up, I need to remember to quit. There we go, let's end quest. I think actually by going onto another quest now, there's like a shortcut to quit. I might actually test that out. So chapter 3, very similar to the first one in terms of the global node. However, it does have a secondary node active. So I got this a little bit muddled up at the start. So you got Flare as well. So the first chapter, like Rogue, Hood, Hulk, they're all going to be really good characters there as well. Just any champion that has a crazy amount of damage, or you can just go like any champion that has a crazy amount of damage. But the ones that recover health, if you're a little bit light on rank up resources or a very bolstered up roster, they're really good. If you want to use like a freestyle version of them, they'll probably do the job. So this chapter is a little bit more difficult, about 20% more difficult than the first chapter, and you also have a heal block on any special attacks, which will prevent you actually, so this heal block doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all if you don't get hit. So it only applies if you get hit by a special attack. So basically, if you want to stay alive, just don't get hit by any special attacks. That's pretty much it. Took me way too long to say that. That was way too difficult. I don't know why. But yeah, apart from that, I think the easiest path, basically, if you want a good time in Act 5, you just want to stay clear of these link nodes, like the orange ones are significantly more difficult, but we decided around this point to kind of ramp up the difficulty a little bit. I remember that magic being so annoying because she has crazy power gain, so you do need to watch out for her. But apart from that, like the general advice for Act 5 beginners seems to be just stick to the paths that don't have the orange nodes, don't have the boost active. So let's go into chapter 4 now. Chapter 4 is by far the best chapter. I love this chapter so much. We did the most difficult path, the most difficult island here, and it was honestly one of the best times I've ever had playing the game. So we did this little mystery island here. So if you want to see all those nodes, go to the live stream. But basically the global node on here is a node called Life Transfer, which initially people are a little bit skeptical about, but it is amazing. It works so well in your favor. It's crazy good. So basically, opponents suffer a permanent degeneration effect. So you suffer 2% degen every second, but you heal for 125% of the damage done, which is a phenomenal amount. It's more than it's way more than you need. If this was like even 50%, it would still be more than enough, but like 125% is a treat. We had this crazy moment on the live stream on this node in particular, actually. Well, we are fighting Star-Lord, and this one also has a strike back. So we fight Star-Lord with a Drax, and we get hit. We forget about the strike back, right? We use the level 2. He gets the level 3, and then we manage to survive with about 10% health left. Just go straight in again with like a full round of combo, and then we're pretty much back up to full health. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous. Honestly, such an insane save there. But yeah, we got pretty lucky there. We got pretty lucky. But overall, this chapter is by far my favorite of the chapter. I love the life transfer mechanic. I think it's so much fun. Maybe in terms of balance, maybe it's a little bit too overpowered for the player. Like, I found I had no trouble in this chapter at all. Just absolutely breezed through it. But I think before I say that definitively, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see how we fare with some 3-star champions on the easier path, because I think that's gonna be quite a fun challenge to do. But this is by far my favorite chapter. Definitely out of the 5 we've played so far. Oh no, I can't believe I made that mistake again. Really, dude? I suck tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I suck. It is way too late. And then finally, we have the Electro chapter. I was actually really worried about this one. This was my kind of most concerned one out of all the chapters, but Electro, he really wasn't that bad at all. So there are various link nodes. This is the one of the only ones where there are quite a few link nodes that you can take down for the boss, but they aren't really link nodes that you need to worry about if you're fighting Electro right. So you've got Pessimist, you've got Optimist. That's kind of more Fury and Armor Up and Health Steal, kind of what is it? Both above and below 75% and 25%. Again, don't really matter if you're not taking damage. You have Strike Back, which you have to pay attention to. You need to make sure that you don't accidentally push him to the special 3. And then finally is Enhanced Special 1. But the easiest way by far to fight an Electro is just go out of range and just bait the special 1. That is by far the easiest strategy there. And he's pretty easy to deal with. Like, his damage back isn't too much. His health pool, when I fought him, I think it's just about 44k. So even if you weren't using a defensive ability accuracy reduction, I think that's about 13,000 damage you need to deal with. But again, with the ability accuracy reduction stun mastery and using a character like Electra, Crossbones or Black Widow, you'll be able to deal with this Electro very, very easily. So in terms of a boss, he really wasn't too much of a problem, but this path is very fun to do. There's a nice challenge path here. So one of the slightly annoying things about this chapter is one of the new buff nodes, which I don't think is like super great. It's called Burden of Might, and basically reduces power gain for each active buff that you have, and also every time that you get a buff on you, you lose 25% of your maximum power, and that also counts for dexterity. So whenever you evade backwards, you're going to lose 25% of your power. I don't really think this is a very fun mechanic. I don't like it. I don't really see what it adds to the game, apart from you can't really use special attacks too often in this mission, which, you know, just kind of makes the combat, you know, it's still fun, man. It's still the 5-hit combo, but special attacks are really fun to get off. And this basically, for any buff characters and a lot of your regular characters, even with dexterity, just kind of, you know, stops that from happening. So yeah, I don't really like this global node too much, but it isn't too much of a problem if you can play really aggressively, if you can get the parry and just keep on attacking him. Maybe have a power control champion like Magic. It's an alright way to do it, but overall, like in comparison to Flare, the Armor Up node, and also the Health Steal node, I think this is one of the most disappointing nodes of the chapter. And then finally, in the final quest of chapter 1, we have the degen if you don't get hit by 7 seconds. So we already covered that at the start of the video, but again, that's broken at the moment, but when it's fixed, it shouldn't be a problem, because 6 seconds is a lot of time to connect with your opponent. And I believe you can even you can hit into your opponent when they're blocking and you'll gain power, so you can push to maybe like a special 2 or special 1, which allows you to pretty much get a pretty nice intercept off there with a guaranteed chance you'll land it, or maybe push to the special 3 to reset the degeneration. But I think once that chapter has been fixed, the Dark Angel chapter, it's going to be pretty easy to deal with. I don't see too much trouble there, so I'm excited to tackle that once it is. But again, in its current bug state, like, I have no desire to throw like units and health potions at it, because it just seems like a bit of a waste at the moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, so far, overall, Act 5 Elder's War, I like a lot of the design. I think a lot of the quests are very, very fun to play. I think in terms of design, they're going in a really right direction. They just need to fix a few of the bugs that they have with the entry and also the final chapter of this. And I think it's going to be in a pretty good place. I think it's going to be a pretty fun piece of content to do for a lot of players, and it's quite rewarding for the difficulty. It's ever so slightly harder than Master, and again, it's going to give you some pretty cool rewards for doing the first chapter. You know, you get pretty much a fully formed 4-star hero crystal, a tier 4 class catalyst, a 4-star generic awakening gem, 10,000 5-star shards. Like, there's some really, really good rewards for something that really isn't too difficult or time consuming, but again, they need to fix the final chapter. So, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed my day 1 thoughts on Act 5. If you've come across any insane strategies for any fights in particular, do let me know in the comments below. Very interested to get your thoughts and opinions on stuff. But apart from that, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a thumbs up. That'd be greatly appreciated. Apart from that, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.